West Africa. So we're going to talk about all these countries right here in this green area. So you see there's a lot of like really small countries. This is because this land right in here was really good um, for trading. Okay, so there's a lot of coastline there. So a lot of different European countries, when they came in, they took control of these areas, and they all traded in something different, like the Ivory Coast, for example, traded in ivory. Ghana traded in gold and salt. You get Benin and Togo, they traded mostly in slaves. So there's a lot of different things that were being traded at the time. Okay, so that's why there's so many little countries. Okay, here we go. All right, so the people. So many different ethnic groups live throughout West Africa, but some are split between different countries because, like we've talked about before, when the Europeans colonized, they didn't care if they were splitting up different ethnicities or tribes or joining tribes that didn't like each other. But to give an example of this, the Hausa people, they live in southern Niger, but also in northern Nigeria because they were split up. But one of the biggest ethnic groups in the area is the Yoruba. So they live in southwestern Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. Some problems that have impacted the people in West Africa will be climate change. So desertification is still occurring in West Africa. So what's happening is the Sahara Desert continues to grow. Um, Overpopulation as a result of this. So people are getting kind of, because of that desertification, are getting pushed farther and farther out, more towards the coast. You see a lot of ethnic conflict. A lot of that has to do with the Europeans when they cut up Africa. Deforestation, which obviously leads to the desertification, and then also food shortages. So the rate of urbanization, which is obviously I want you to highlight that, but urbanization, we've talked a lot about this. This is where people move from the country into the cities. This is the world's fastest area for urbanization. So, history and government. So, early empires. So, there were three major trading empires that grew up. So, you have Ghana, and then Mali, and then eventually Songhai is going to take over for Mali. So, um, this right here is the Kingdom of Ghana, and then Mali grew a little bit bigger, and then Songhai grew very big. Okay, but anyway, so the Ghana grew rich by trading gold and salt. Those that was their big things, and those trade goods were brought in by camel caravans across the Sahara. Those were known as fleets of the desert. Okay, and they used as salt being used as a food preservative, so therefore it was very valuable. And then gold was obviously very plentiful in Ghana, and so Ghana flourished for about 500 years. So then in the colonial era, so in the 1400s, the Portuguese set up trading posts along the African coast. I'm going to show you on the next slide map of this. But the Portuguese were really looking for gold, and then later they were looking for slaves. But the major trading centers, Timbuktu sits right on the Niger River, Kano, Gao, and Wangara. Um, Timbuktu was actually the capital of Mali and Songhai, and it was a booming city in the 1400s. So in the 1400s, that's when Songhai existed, and it was a major center of learning, and Islam, okay, was the major religion there, and it was a bustling city. But by the time Europeans were actively trading with the Africans, the chiefs and kings had been trading POWs for centuries. Okay, so prisoners of war were being traded as slaves, and Arab traders had brought enslaved Africans to them since the 800s. And so the slave trade increased once the Americas were discovered, because what happened there was, and we talked about this when we talked about Latin America, was when the Europeans got to Latin America, they used the native population as labor. Well, because of various reasons, a lot of that native population died off. So to replace that labor, they started bringing in slaves from Africa. So that journey from Africa to the Americas is known as the Middle Passage. Okay, so it was because it's the middle part of that triangular trade that was going on. So the French colonizers were actually trying to end slavery, and the Moors are the Muslims who lived in Spain and Morocco. They began to return to Mauritania because they themselves were scared of being enslaved. Okay, so this right here shows the Portuguese holdings in Africa around 1800. So what they did is they just pretty much set up trading posts. So Portugal is sitting like right up here, just off this map here, and they set up trading posts so the ships could stop and refuel, resupply, I guess, and get the things they needed before they went over to Asia. So that's why that's going on there. Okay. So Nigeria. In 1914, the British formed the colony of Nigeria from several smaller ethnic territories, and so there's many different ethnic and religious groups that live in there. So in northern Nigeria, you see um, they're mostly Islam, and then in the south, you see like more the indigenous religions and Christianity. But Nigeria eventually will gain independence in 1960, and there was ethnic and religious differences that basically erupted in a civil war, and they still continue to fight about this till to this day. So culture, so language, so there's hundreds of languages that are spoken in West Africa, and that has a lot to do with the different ethnicities that live in that area. But the most common that are actually spoken are English and French because those were the two major European powers in that area. Arabic is very common as well for the Muslims that live in there. And then Yoruba is actually widely spoken in many dialects. It's even taught in schools. It's used in radio broadcasts and TV. And then religion. So the most common religions are Islam and Christianity, and then the indigenous religions of Africa. But there is a lot of conflict sometimes between these religious groups. And so, especially like I just was speaking about Nigeria, so they still continue to struggle with that to this day. So this right here shows a map of Africa and kind of the how widespread the indigenous religions were to where they're at today. So you can see um, the indigenous religions in 1900 were pretty widespread. Okay, up here, this is mostly Islam, is what's going on in 1900. But then by 1970, they're getting less and less, and by 1990, even less. But you can see the growth of Christianity and Islam as a result. Okay, so those are starting to replace the indigenous populations or indigenous religions. Education. So education remains very inconsistent. So literacy rates vary. In Niger, it's the lowest at 29%, and then Nigeria is the highest at 68%. So very, very low in regards to literacy rates. In Ghana, it has been a high priority. Education has to get primary and secondary school mandatory, but students who complete secondary school, they do usually go to college or some kind of tech school, which is pretty neat. But getting them to that point is very, very tough. Okay, because there's a lot of poverty in this area, and school just isn't as important when your basic needs are not being met. As far as healthcare goes, healthcare is very uneven, limited healthcare. There's very high infant mortality rates, but there's a lot of really poor health conditions and inadequate nutrition that have contributed to high death rates. So a lot of their healthcare issues actually relate to poverty. There's like lack of clean drinking water, malnutrition, and things of that nature. The arts, so they express their traditions, especially their religious beliefs, through arts. Music and dance are very important. So entire communities will participate, while dancers that wear masks honor specific deities, spirits, or various special occasions. In Western Africa, the music has influenced more Western artists. So, for example, Kanye West, Sting, also blues and jazz have roots in West Africa. So there's a lot of influence from the West Africans on the music that we hear today. The Ashanti of Ghana are really famous for creating the kente cloth. Okay, so this is the kente cloth, and you'll see this where people will wear like a scarf in these kind of bright colored patterns. But this has been a symbol for Africa in general for many African Americans today. So, all right, that is all I got for you guys. Don't forget to do your processor, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.